Now, a number of high-profile actors are in Canberra today lobbying for more local content production as part of Screen Producers Australia, and that includes a legend of Australian and international cinema, the one and only Bryan Brown, who joins us. Bryan, good morning.
Good morning, mate. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
That's good.
Now, Bryan, you are lobbying for more Australian content. I just need to clarify, when you're talking about Australian content, do you mean more specifically Australian stories or just more content being filmed in Australia?
Well, I mean, there's a few things going on today. So there's been, with all the streaming companies coming into the game, the whole way how you receive your TV shows and whatever is all changing. So the government's had to try and work out how they make sure that we get on those streaming programs, and they make a lot of money out of it. So I think there's about $2 billion a year in revenue. We want a decent part of that revenue put into Australian production. So there's that fight. What is that percentage? The same time, they're throwing a lot of money at international production being done here. giving them all sorts of benefits, and at the same time they're trying to cut back on what they give to Australian film. So we're down here to sort of kick them in the arse to say that's not on.
Yeah, fair enough too.
Absolutely. Because, I mean, in terms of streaming services, I think Stan is pretty much the only one that really seems to support local production. The others are mainly international based, Bryan.
Yeah, they are, and Stan has been very good in doing that. But these other ones, they make a lot of money, and look, we all know if you're big and you can make a lot of money, then you don't mind kicking everyone around. So we've got to make sure that we go, hey, you can kick us a little bit, but you can't kick us all the way. Start spending some of that money on Australian production.
Yes.
That's what. Yeah.
Is it an easier place? Like at the moment, obviously, with the way things have been in the last 12 months with COVID. I know there was still some Australian production that was going on. Are we in a unique situation, really, compared to the rest of the world at the moment, for hosting productions because of the fact that we have so little COVID here?
Yeah, I think that's a big deal. I think we've been well looked after with the COVID. It is unusual whenever we turn on the TV and we see what's going on in countries, the dire things that they're going through. We've all sort of done it the right way, and that has meant that it's a good place for people to come and make things here, and that provides jobs. We're all for that. We don't have a problem with people coming here and shooting their productions here. It's mainly Yank stuff.
Yeah.
And that provides jobs and opportunities for people. But we've been here before. They're going to go when the COVID's over. They'll say all the things that you're like, hey, it's a great place. We love being down here.
Yeah.
And as soon as some other country offers the same thing and they're closer to the States, they'll run way to there. We've seen it all before. We've heard all the promises. It'd be lovely to have them stay here and do a lot of shooting, but we've got to be very careful that does not overpower our own industry, our own stories, our own people, what we're on about and who we are.
Because in terms of Australian stories, so Bryan, I came out to Australia from England when I was 8. And
you lucky fella.
I know.
He really lucked out, didn't he?
I know. It was 1984, and so the next year there was a little show called The Shirley. And I reckon most of my education about Australia came from things like The Shirley that you starred in, those mini-series that just... my eyes were wide open watching something like The Shirley. We need much more of those kind of productions, don't we?
That's very interesting what you say. I shot a series way back. Look, I'm a lot older than everybody in the world. However, I did shoot a show called A Town Like Alice, which was a wonderful story set in the outback too. And the number of people that I know, particularly from Scandinavia, who said, that made me want to go to Australia.
Yeah.
So, it's our right to show our place, to say who we are. And just as we want to learn about other cultures, people want to know about us. And look, the fact of the matter is we do get our stuff out there. We've just got to make sure at different times that we remind them of how important it is and to not drop the ball on this. So we're down here getting in the scrum.
Now, as you said, you know, you've been around for a while. I have been watching you for a large part of my life on film and TV. Is it time for the, have you got the young guard? Are they picking up this fight as well, Bryan, or is it just left up to the ones like yourself that have, been around for a long time that are fighting the good fight?
I think that's a good question. Look, I don't think it's anything about the young guard not wanting to get into these battles. But I think they take it for granted, perhaps, that, it's here, it's going to be here forever. When I grew up, all that was on the movies was American and English shows.
Yep.
We didn't have a voice. We didn't have a voice at all. Then, excuse me, things like Home and Away, Home and Away and such came on, Neighbours, and a kid growing up in a backyard in the suburbs could go, hey, I want to do that. Yep. Be it either the actor or go, I can write that stuff. And so suddenly that becomes a part of our culture. And people, but they can also not realise that every 5 years or so, we're down here reminding Parliament how important it is to have our voice and how it must, it annoys me that we have to do this, but we do have to. And I don't think it's anything about the younger ones not wanting to. I think they probably don't realise the fragility of it, and it will always be fragile and will always have to be here kicking their ass to remind them.
Yeah, all right, beautiful. Look, we're out of time, unfortunately, Bryan, but I want to end it in the cheesiest way possible. Coughlin's Law, make Australian content for Australian, Bryan Brown.
That's what he said.
That's, of course, from Cocktail. Everybody knows that is what's
course.
Cocktail. Bryan Brown, thank you so much for joining. It's been an absolute treat, and hopefully you get as much support as possible from the government so we can make more Aussie stories.
Thanks for your help. Bye.